Where has May gone? May. The first 2 weeks of May, I was very unwell. I had the flu. The reason you find me here in my conservatory is because I had my reclining garden chair here, and I spent the first 2 weeks of May pretty much sleeping in my reclining chair, trying to deal with the awful headache, the terrible pain in my sinuses, burning sore throat, upset stomach, a whole load of really interesting symptoms. Then I had a week at work, and now this week I'm on annual leave. So the majority of May I've kind of been in this spot. And I have to say, it's been very pleasant. It's given me lots of opportunity to rest, and I really, really needed it. And it's made me feel so grateful for the opportunity that I had. I asked myself, how do people who are either self-employed or don't get sick pay, how do they cope with being unwell and having to take time off work? I felt so lucky that I was being paid to recuperate. By the way, I've been very rude. I haven't even discussed who is sharing my day today. It's actually Girl Mono by Gabor in light Bernstein Rooted. I had a real yearning for something big, curly, fluffy, and I reached for Girl Mono. Again, I was just so grateful that I was able to reach for the sort of hair that I wanted, to have hair. Because, let's face it, you've seen what my hair looks like and how my hair loss has progressed over these last few years. Wouldn't it be such a sad thing to have to put up with that and not have any alternatives for that? When I was unwell and sitting here in my pyjamas, no hair, looking pale and interesting, Stephen suddenly rang up. It was about just before lunch, in my recliner, of course. He said, "We're thinking of coming home for lunch." And I said to him, "Who's we?" And he said, "Oh, me and my business partner, the guy he works with. He has, as you know, his own business." I thought, oh no, what shall I do first? Do I just get dressed and don't put any hair on? What do I do? And what sprang to mind straight away was a topper. Just quickly get dressed, straighten your hair, which takes 2 minutes. Put a topper on. That topper, for example, Ida by Uniwigs that we spoke about in the last video. I had just washed it. It was kind of a little bit frizzy, curled a couple of the bits there at the front, left the back to its own devices. Suddenly, jeans and a jumper, I was suddenly presentable. There was no way that I was going to put on a full cap. I had the worst headache. My sinuses were really under pressure. I had a horrible sore throat. I just felt I was in pain. My head was in pain and under pressure. There was no way I was going to put on a full cap, but my goodness, those toppers really came into their own. Now, a new friend that I have made through this YouTube channel, and she lives in LA, she has recently started wearing toppers and wigs. Welcome to the club, young lady. To say that she's enjoying it, I think, is an understatement. It's kind of given her a new lease of life, if you don't mind me saying so. That's how it seems to me. But she was talking about her topper giving her pain where the clips are. That's absolutely possible, if I may address that point. Now, I noticed that with my lace front toppers, I have lace front tape. It's kind of like a double-sided sellotape. Now, it's attached, you see, I've got tape across the lace front. When I clip the rest of the clips on a topper, that tape really stops that topper from sliding back. It's the movement in the topper that causes the clips to pull, you see. Now, so long as I have the tape at the front, I'm not afraid of cutting that tape and putting it across that lace front. There's not going to be any traction pain on the hair that you've got where the clips are attached. If I don't have lace front, well, what she does, you see, is that she places her topper slightly back and she uses her front hair to give her that natural looking. So in her case, for example, all of this would be her own hair. The topper would be here. She would just swoop her own hair back and it would just give her that natural hairline. Now, I can't do that. I don't have any hair at the front. I actually did a funny experimentation the other day where I tried to comb whatever hair I had to see whether I could do it. Well, it was the biggest joke out. It was like, it was actually horrific. I found it horrific just to appreciate how little hair I had at the front. It's most disconcerting, really. So when I have a topper, instead of being able to do that trick that Marianne does, I actually put that topper on where that lace front would be, right, you know, in front of my hairline. And as you will see in one of the clips that I'm going to show you, sometimes it can look very wiggy because there's no lace front, there's no natural transition between my forehead and the hairpiece. It can look very wiggy, especially if it's quite thick. Now that Savannah Topper from Uniwigs falls into that category perfectly. The hair was very thick, and because it was long at the front, I would put it up in a band or tuck it behind my ear, but it would look wiggy in my opinion. Now remember, I have spoken about how you feel about what you're wearing on your head being, I'm getting tangled up, being the most important factor in wearing wigs and toppers, because people will follow your lead. And I found that I was uncomfortable with it. I didn't feel it looked natural. So what I decided to do was to take my courage in my hands and cut a fringe, you see, in that piece, so that I didn't have to manage that seam between me and the topper. That fringe, it wouldn't matter whether there was a lace front or not, but the most beautiful thing about it is that I was still able to use that wig tape to tape that piece down. That topper is a very wide base and it's got a lot of hair. It's quite a heavy piece. If that starts slipping around, it's going to really pull on my hair, and I was trying to avoid that. I'm going to come to an end here in our little chat, in our little catch-up. I shot these these clips over several days, so I'm probably going to be wearing different things and looking very different, which is another big perk in wearing hair and looking the way I want to look. I can change it up whenever I like. Thank you to everybody who left me messages, get well soon messages. I was very pleased to receive them. So come with me on this little experimentation. I'm going to curl the topper that I washed to see the before and after effect of unwashed, frizzy and beautifully coiffed hair. And I'm going to cut a fringe in Savannah. What it does is just tame the whole look down. When I wrap the hair around the the curling wand, I put it on the lower heat, and I never leave it on for too long because I don't want to be singeing the hair or damaging the hair any more than I need to. Every time you wash your topper and dry it and brush it and curl it, of course you're going to be taking away from it a little bit. My very favorite one. This is in Mousse Brown. I've got a review on her, and there is a 15% off code for you if you want to have your own human hair topper like this. Let's just gently comb her out and see what we get. When I was unwell these last few couple of weeks, Stephen took me out to have breakfast on a Sunday. That's something that we like to do. We love to go out and have breakfast. I actually put Ida on. She was uncurled. She was just fluffy and frizzy. I put on jeans and a jumper, and I bought myself toast with hot butter and jam and a pot of tea, and I sat there like some incubus. But look, that the curling tongs make it so that the hair undulates and echoes the shape of your face. It seems to go out where your cheekbones are and then comes in to hug your jawline. Likewise here at the top, it does this around your face. It undulates in a really lovely way. You remember what she looked when she was freshly washed in the last video. Now this will stay like this almost for a day, but as we come to the end of the day, these waves will start to fall out a little bit. So I'm delighted with this. I'm delighted with that head that I bought. The curling wand works so much better when I'm able to control things where, you know, the hair is on another object that I can control how I want the curls to be all the way around. So much easier than do it while I'm wearing the topper. Now I have got another topper. I will put the name on the screen because I can't remember the actual name of that style. This is a very wide base topper, but as you can see, no lace front at all. Look at how natural it is. But when I put her on, I feel that she's not as natural as the one I've just taken off, or indeed the John Renault one. So I'm just going to put a little part in her, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Now, don't worry about the fact that she's kind of a little bit unstyled. She needs to have a wash and a condition and to be restyled, but it's this bit here at the front that I'm particularly asking you about. Do you see how there is no transition between my forehead and the hair starting? It's so incredibly thick that sometimes when, for example, I sort of do that, I feel that it can look a little bit unnatural. Do you know what I mean? Now, if I had more hair and I place her a little bit further back, let me try and do that just for giggles sake, because, you know, just to demonstrate what I mean. All right, so I'm going to I mean, look, there's nothing there, you know. So I put this here, and what am I supposed to have this? Oh my God, it's so depressing. Please, I don't want to look at that. I do not want to look at that. So what I've decided to do, wet her down at the front, make sure that she's in the right place, cut a fringe into her. Now, if I was to take these bits down, let's see what we've got. You have to have the patience of a saint, which I don't have. I like to go in hot and heavy with stuff. Oh. What do you think? Now, yes, it's still on the long side. And if I should want to, I would be able to go shorter. I'm so glad that I did this, because it got to the stage where this beautiful topper was not wearable anymore for me. And why should I put myself in that situation? You know, the whole point is to have joy in the toppers and the hair that we wear. But do you see how I've just focused on the central hairs? There are probably going to be hairdressers out there hiding behind the sofa thinking, oh my God, I can't believe what this girl's doing. But the thing is, you're not here with me, sweethearts, and I have to be able to help myself, okay? And I think, really, I haven't done too much of a bad job. Dare I go a little bit shorter? I've decided to go in again. And I have gone in again, but I slept on it and I thought about it very carefully. I now feel that that silk top is definitely the focus of this piece, rather than the way it was separating at the front. There's no lace front here. If there is no lace front, then why make a feature of the front? Because it's going to look, the transition is not going to be gentle going in from my forehead into the hair. It's not going to be gentle and natural, and that's a real shame. Now, shall I go with pink or red? I think red to balance out all this hair. And I do love this. I feel like I've been slowly coming back to life after this this flu. It definitely gave me an awful lot of time to heal. I didn't have to worry about work. My manager was really, really supportive. She just gave me the 2 weeks off without any quibble. You know, and as I was sort of recuperating downstairs, not bad. And actually, just to interrupt myself, so even if it's sort of down, it is a very heavy piece, this. If I was a little bit more more skilled, I'd probably sort of go in and just, I might even do a little bit of that now, seeing as you're here and you're giving me support. I don't know how many of you are aware, because there are newcomers to this little nook of the internet, that I had weight loss surgery in September 2020. Something that I was absolutely petrified about. I did put down some thoughts actually about it. And when I look back at that video, I made 2 videos talking about my upcoming surgery and my feelings about it. I don't mean to be mean about myself. You know, people say you shouldn't really say negative things about yourself. And that's true. But I'm almost like a completely different person in those videos. When I look back, I just see somebody that I almost don't recognize. And I think in my case, my weight had practically engulfed myself, my personality, my character. I don't think that looking at me as I was, you could tell anything about me, because all you saw was the weight. That was the first thing that you noticed. I used to think that if I was interesting enough, people would not notice my weight. They'd be able to see past it somehow. And you know, people really don't work that hard when they first meet somebody. They kind of take you on face value. And unfortunately, I do feel that I was dismissed a lot because of my weight. And that affected my relationships. My ability to make new friends, I think, was really affected. Ladies, I'm even more pleased with it now than I was before. And I just can't believe I've managed to achieve this. My weight really was gaining year on year. I was in the situation where I could see very clearly, and so could everybody else, that my weight gain was year on year. And I don't believe that it was going to stop. I think that the weight gain was just going to continue until I had serious health problems. I got a chance to reflect really on how my weight had been affecting my life. It definitely affected what I was able to wear. And that made me very sad, because I enjoy clothes. I mean, I make clothes. I make clothes like this. I'm wearing this with a lovely kind of a casual type trouser with a roll up at the ankles, and some nice little trainers. I couldn't find clothes like this to fit me before, and I ended up generally wearing clothes that hung. I call them like a tent, because I wasn't able to choose what I wanted. If it fitted me, it went into my wardrobe. And that's not a very creative way of collecting a wardrobe, creating a wardrobe for yourself. And most of my clothes were in dark colours, because I had the belief that dark colours such as grey, navy blue and black, a lot of black, were slimming and therefore would suit me better. And I was able to make them. I made stretchy just column skirts with an elastic at the top, slightly shaped all the way down to mid-shin. I made t-shirts that just hung down, kind of A-line t-shirts. I made slightly tighter sleeves, because just to give them a little bit more shape and structure. But I do remember I was saying to Steve, because you know, us ladies, if we're not happy with something, we do tend to complain about it a lot to our partner, who doesn't really know what to say. He said, if you do lose the weight, no more black. He said that, and that really stuck with me, because I realized how much he was affected also by how I felt about myself. I wasn't able to embrace my weight gain, especially when it started to affect my health. The highlights are beautiful, aren't they? And I think thinning her out a little bit actually shows them off better. Ooh. Oh, I do love it. I do love it. Look. I love it. I love it. It makes me feel so good. The other thing is that when I did have a lot of weight on my face, I think some people carry weight better than others. I did not. I've got quite a small face, quite small features. And the weight engulfed my face and I just had this round. It was not a good look at all. I would put makeup on and it would get lost within my face, really. If ever I tried to wear anything bright, like a lipstick like this, it just looked awful because it was kind of this little red line in the middle of a large face. I'd lost definition. There are parts in our bodies where the bone naturally meets the skin, contact points, natural ones. Things like, to some respect, cheekbones, collarbones, shoulders here, you know, and various other places. And they are nature's way of putting a frame around you to support your beauty. That's just the beauty of the human body. Nature has designed it that way, and she did a very good job. But when I started putting on more weight upon more weight, all of the meaning of my frame just disappeared. I became very round and puffy. The other thing is that I love delicate jewellery around my neck. Not all the time, but I used to imagine that maybe I might get a little diamond on one of those invisible chains and just have it sitting here. I thought it was so feminine to have that, but that would have been completely meaningless, I think, on me at that time. So I just focused on earrings, really. Couldn't wear high heels anymore. You know, my feet hurt too much. I developed plantar fasciitis. I had pain in my joints, pain in my lower back if I stood for too long. And it had the knock-on effect then of not really being able to go out and about to exercise because it was uncomfortable, it was painful. So it kind of fed into itself. The weight gain kind of took care of itself, you know, because my main pleasure was eating. And my main problem was portion control of high-calorie foods. You know, as somebody who enjoyed cooking, I used to cook things that I liked to eat, and eat them I did. And I was very nervous when it came up to the operation. Stephen wasn't able to come into the hospital with me because it was the COVID restrictions. But I did it. Once I'd paid for it and I'd committed that was what I was going to do, I'd made my mind up, then my nerves just fell away. I was no longer nervous anymore. The other thing is the wigs and toppers looked different. They looked much fuller and longer as my face got slimmer. It's a funny thing. It's a funny thing how weight affected my life. My mother and my grandmother were overweight and they had type 2 diabetes caused by their weight gain. It was most definitely a lifestyle disease in their case, and I could see that coming in the future. And I know that diabetes is not an easy chronic illness to manage. It's not easy. You know, you have to always be considering it. And if like me, I was unable to control my eating. I think that was the big problem, because eating, everything revolved around eating. Any celebration, any commiseration, any positive or negative feeling, any activity was all a reason to eat. And I couldn't control it. At the beginning of the day, I'd say, right, today I'm going to do such and such. And by the evening, it had all gone to pot. I knew that I needed something radical that was going to be a mechanical restriction, where I wasn't able to eat, where I would be having to face consequences of overeating that were not very pleasant. And it has enabled me. It's been the one thing that's really enabled me to lose weight and keep it off. I have gained some weight since the operation, but I think that I'm leveling out now, and it's not too difficult. And whenever I do forget myself and eat large amounts, or eat large amounts of the wrong thing, I certainly pay for it the next day, or even later on that day. I pay for it. And it's a learning process, learning that there will be consequences if I ignore my cues, my body. When I was reviewing the op, a lot of people, I joined a Facebook page, a lot of people said, it's the best decision I've ever made for myself, and I wish I'd done it sooner. I feel amazed that I'm actually parroting exactly that. It's the best decision I've ever made. I wish I'd done it sooner, because I was overweight for a long, long time. And I spent many years missing out on all of those things that I loved. I had to forsake them because of my weight. Now, Continental Wigs have been kind enough to send me something to review. They had a list of items that I could choose from, but because it took me a while to decide what I wanted, a lot of them had already gone. And I decided the best thing to do was to choose one in a colour that we've already had. I went for caramel root again, but the only difference in this Belle Madame colour is that this caramel root wig, which is called Lynn, Lynn, is heat friendly. I don't have a lot of heat friendly. I think I've only got Ashley, Paula Young, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the difference is. Now, what will she be like when I actually curl her? So she's not too long. This is a lovely colour, isn't it? Look at the variation in the highlights, and that beautiful red that we spoke about with Larissa. That red was amazing. So I'm going to be reviewing this at the weekend. Lots of people in the States as well as in Europe and the UK use Continental Wigs because they give such a good service. So catch up with me again at the weekend, ladies, and we can continue our journey into the world of hair wearing with this heat-friendly piece.